In the vast expanse of ancient India, a new power was rising. It was the Mauryan Empire, a dynasty forged in ambition and steel. Its founder, Chandragupta Maurya, had carved out a kingdom that stretched from the towering Himalayas to the fertile plains of the south. He was a man of vision, a unifier. But it was Bindusara's son, Ashoka, who would cast the longest shadow across the pages of history. He ascended to the throne around 268 BCE, a young man with a fire in his eyes and a legacy to uphold. He was not just a prince, he was the inheritor of a dream, the dream of a single, unified India under one rule. Ashoka was known to be a formidable ruler from the very beginning. He was a skilled military commander, trained in the arts of war and statecraft since he was a boy. His gaze fell upon the few remaining independent kingdoms that dotted the map of the subcontinent. He saw them not as neighbors, but as missing pieces of a grand puzzle. Kalinga was not just another piece of land, it was a jewel on the eastern coast of India, nestled along the Bay of Bengal. In Ashoka's time, it was a prosperous maritime kingdom, a beacon of commerce and culture. Its ports buzzed with activity, its ships sailed to distant lands like Southeast Asia and Ceylon. Kalinga controlled the vital trade routes, both on land and at sea. This made it incredibly wealthy. Its people were known for their fierce independence and their artistic skill. They had a strong sense of identity and a proud history of self-rule. They had resisted Mauryan expansion before, and they would not bow easily. For Ashoka, the conquest of Kalinga was a matter of both strategy and prestige. Strategically, its location was crucial. In the 8th year of his reign, around 261 BCE, Ashoka unleashed his plan. From the heart of the empire, a massive army began its slow and deliberate march towards Kalinga. It was a sight to behold, a river of humanity and steel flowing across the land. The numbers were staggering, an army unlike any seen before. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, infantrymen with swords and shields, archers with powerful bows and cavalrymen on swift horses, moved as one. Leading this colossal force were the war elephants, the ancient world's equivalent of tanks. These magnificent beasts, adorned in armor and carrying warriors on their backs, were a terrifying weapon of war. The people of Kalinga knew what was coming, but they were not a people to surrender without a fight. They cherished their freedom above all else. The two armies finally met near the Daya River on the plains outside the Kalingan capital of Tosali. The battle for Kalinga had begun. The Kalinga War was fought with a ferocity that shocked even the most seasoned soldiers. The fighting was relentless, a brutal hand-to-hand struggle under the scorching Indian sun. The clash of steel on steel, the splintering of wood, the twang of bowstrings, and the trumpeting of wounded elephants created a deafening symphony of destruction. The men of Kalinga fought with desperate bravery, defending every inch of their land with their lives. They knew this was their last stand. Their resistance was heroic, but the Mauryan war machine was relentless. It was a tide of iron that could not be stopped. The cavalry flanked the Kalingan lines while the elephants punched through the center, creating chaos and breaking formations. The green plains turned red with blood. The Daya River, which flowed nearby, was said to have run red, choked with the bodies of the slain. The day after the final battle, Emperor Ashoka emerged to survey his prize. He was the victor, the conqueror. Kalinga was his. He walked through the battlefield, the air thick with the stench of death and decay, but what he saw would haunt him for the rest of his days. The ground was littered with the bodies of the dead, a grotesque carpet of human suffering. They were all the same in death, their armor broken, their faces frozen in agony. As he walked further, the horror intensified. He saw not just soldiers, but civilians. He saw old men who could barely hold a spear, and young boys who should have been playing in the fields. He stood on a small hill overlooking the Daya River. The water, once clear and life-giving, was now a murky red. He saw bodies floating downstream, a final, silent procession of the vanquished. He saw the devastation with his own eyes, not as a report from a general, but as a visceral, soul-shattering reality. In that moment, something inside Ashoka broke. The walk through the killing fields of Kalinga was a journey into the depths of his own soul. Ashoka returned to his royal tent a changed man. He could not sleep. The images of the dead and dying were seared into his mind. The silent screams of the victims echoed in his ears. This period of intense remorse was the turning point of his life. It was a deep personal crisis. It was during this time of spiritual turmoil that he encountered the teachings of a gentle faith that was spreading across India, Buddhism. He met with Buddhist monks, men who spoke not of conquest and power but of compassion, non-violence, ahimsa, and righteousness, dharma. For Ashoka, this was a revelation. It offered him a way to atone for the horrors of Kalinga. He made a vow: he would never again wage a war of aggression. Ashoka's transformation was total and absolute. He put away his sword and embraced a new weapon, the concept of Dharma Vijaya, or conquest by righteousness. He declared that the only victory worth winning was one that brought peace and well-being to all living things. He established hospitals for both people and animals, a revolutionary concept for the 3rd century BCE. He had wells dug and shade trees planted along major roads to provide comfort to travelers and pilgrims. He appointed a new class of officials called the Dharma Mahamatras, or officers of righteousness. Their job was to travel throughout the empire to spread the message of Dharma. He sent Buddhist missionaries to other kingdoms, from Greece and Egypt in the west to Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia in the east. To ensure his message would last forever, Ashoka decided to write it in stone. He had his teachings, his policies, and his personal story of remorse carved onto massive stone pillars and rock faces throughout his vast empire. These are known today as the Edicts of Ashoka. They were placed in public places so that everyone could read them or have them read to them. The pillars, often topped with magnificent sculptures of lions, have become a symbol of India itself. The 4-lion capital from Sarnath is now the national emblem of modern India. Ashoka ruled for nearly 40 years after the Kalinga War. When he died around 232 BCE, he left behind an empire that was not only vast in size but also rich in spirit. Today, Ashoka's message endures. It reminds us that even in a world filled with conflict, a different path is always possible. The story of how the Kalinga War changed Ashoka forever is more than just a chapter in an ancient history book. It is a timeless lesson for all of humanity, leaving behind a legacy of peace that continues to inspire us to this day.